Gina Dowd is an adolescent psychotherapist who's been working with Planet Youth in this current series of parenting your teenager through COVID-19 online workshops in 2020. And last night, Gina, we had another large crowd online to discuss the things they're doing well as parents during COVID-19 and the challenges they're encountering as well. And we have 3 questions on the screen that we will look at in particular, as well as other things as well too. The first question, as you can see there, is how do I communicate better with my 17-year-old daughter? She seems to spend a lot of time in her room. And I suspect that's not an uncommon problem for parents today.
No, it isn't, Liam, and I think it echoes a lot of the questions that have come up in, since we started this program. How do I communicate with my adolescent? How do I motivate my adolescent? Concerns about, especially for adolescents who are trying to establish if they're doing a Leaving Cert or not. And I suppose what we all know about communication, it's the cornerstone of any relationship. And it's something that we all do in one way or another, but it's something we pay little attention to until there's a problem. And then when we start to take notice of our communication style is when we begin to feel frustrated, when we begin to feel upset, when we feel someone isn't listening to us, when our message isn't getting there. And I think I heard so much of that echoed in what parents said. How do I get my adolescent to listen to me? How do I get them to come out of the bedroom? How do I start getting them to take themselves seriously? And I suppose if we think of, so many quotes have been given about communication, but the one that stands out to me is Virginia Satir, when she said, communication is to a relationship what breath is to life. And if we actually think about that and we process it a moment, we're often breathing out our feelings, we're breathing out our anxiety, our upset, our hopes, our fears for our adolescents. And if we take a step back and we say, what's actually happening here? Because adolescents are always trying to communicate something, but they don't tend to be very explicit in their communication. So often we have to say, what is it my son or my daughter is asking me to take on or to feel? Because usually they want you to feel something that is difficult or that is a frustration for them. I can't get out of bed. I don't see the point in getting out of bed. I don't know where I'm going. And what we often know about 17, 18, 19-year-olds is they start to get stuck and they start to get scared. What's next? Because they're maybe in transition year, that they're going to start into senior cycle. And as we know, school is all about academic performance. Well, it's a part of it. It's also about social skills. But it's about what's next, what do you want to do, where do you want to go? And you know what I often say to most adolescents, most people don't figure it out till they're in their 30s. So whatever is happening for your adolescent at the minute, maybe you can tune into what they're trying to communicate to you. And then instead of trying to motivate them or push them, become curious, become interested in what they're trying to say, what they're trying to understand about themselves, and maybe what your real wish is for them and what you'd like to see them doing, what you feel they would be good at doing, what you feel they might be interested in. And then it becomes, I suppose, an engaged conversation. And I know that sounds very easy for me to sit here and to say that, but often we have to step back when we're communicating, because if one way isn't working, it's demanding that we try something else or we attune in a different way.
So not to keep banging on the same door, so to speak.
No, it's very easy to do that because you're appealing to your adolescent to get it. We have ways of rewarding and supporting, and I think we've talked about this before, that explicit way of the reward system. And sometimes we just have to become a lot more flexible in our thinking. What is actually happening here? There's something going on that's stalling an adolescent, and it's usually around a fear or an anxiety, usually something that hasn't happened, but a fear of what it might look like or how they may not cope.
Okay, our second question is, how do I make a bit of time for myself? I'm trying to work from home and I find it difficult to get some me time.
And that's very, very, very understandable at the moment, because adults, adolescents, the whole family don't have much private time at the moment. And it's very, very important that, and I think it's really important that an adult parent is asking that first of all, because what they're beginning to say is, I need something for me, and this is important, but I'm not really sure how to go about it, or I'm not sure how to prioritize for me. And I think that that's a theme that has run through all these workshops that we have done. Step back. We hear the term, mind yourself, look after yourself, self-care. There's a lot of lovely terms out there at the minute, but we don't always have permission to do it. And again, communication is about the relationship you have with yourself. It is the longest relationship you'll ever have. It is the most important relationship. If you start to get it right and you start to give yourself permission to do the smallest of things, you influence your adolescent. We don't tend to remember always what people have told us. We may remember a phrase, but we always remember how somebody made us feel. So I'd ask that person, how do you want to feel from your actions and your behaviors? And we usually feel good from positive actions and positive behaviors. Somebody talked about a walk around the house. Somebody talked about trying to pay attention to nutrition. There's all little ways to do it, and they're all stepping stones. I don't think at this moment in time, given what we're going through, there's any one great thing that you should do or any one huge life change. But, if you can do something for yourself that begins a pattern of ownership, that looks at your relationship with yourself, anything is going to be positive and supportive. And then you're going to be better able to deal with whatever is happening for you. Because as we know, people are having changes forced on them in many ways because of this pandemic, because of the changes it's brought. So if you can prioritize you, what you're saying is, okay, do I feel good enough? Am I grateful for who I am? And you're beginning to set up an internal message within your head that starts to guide you a little bit better, ground you a little bit better, focus, and help you to become directional about what you need.
Okay, the final question. I've just lost my job and I'm wondering how to motivate myself and stop panicking about the future. Motivation has been a common theme through these meetings, be it motivating yourself, as this parent talks about, or motivating a son or daughter.
It has, and I suppose it's a word that we all have in our vocabulary, but I'm wondering if it's maybe time to park it, or I'm wondering if it's maybe time to think of it in a different way. Instead of motivation, I think of the term recruit. And often we have to recruit our adolescent, we have to recruit ourselves into problem solving in a different way. And problem solving involves support, it involves challenge, and it sometimes involves necessity. So for this parent, there's now a necessity to begin to remanage life from a financial point of view, from a practical point of view, and there's support needed from an emotional point of view. And the challenge is facing this person now. What do I need to do? Now, whether they chose to leave their job, whether this was forced on them, there's now something to be taken from this. What does this person actually need? Did they love their job? Did they hate their job? Did they dream about leaving their job? Whatever their circumstances, they have to deal with the practical side and obviously try to remanage their money, try to think about all their bills and their mortgage. And there's an awful lot of help out there that we can ask for today with some of those practical things. I know sometimes when I'm faced with a struggle, I have to step back and say, okay, that's not my area of expertise. Who can I recruit in now to help me? Now, when a change has been forced on you and it's not of your own design, there's a loss in that. There's actually a grief in that. And I think this person needs to have a little bit of compassion for themselves, first of all. They have lost their job. They have been forced into a huge change. That takes time to process. That takes time to have a bit of empathy for him or herself in this situation. And don't be afraid to do that. This is not a whinge fest. This is actual empathy that this serious thing has happened. And we think about the serious things that happen in our life. And for many people, all those major life events and changes are happening very quickly now. Then when we think about, the necessity, the challenge, and we combine it with the support, then we've got an opportunity there to focus on, okay, what is an option? What's a practical option? What's a feasible option? What's maybe a lovely utopian option that I'd now like to do? If I'm going to be at home for the next 6 weeks, for the next 8 weeks, what can I focus on? Health, well-being, all the usual things are very, very important, because waking up at night stressing and worrying, we're usually in that position of doing that about the future. And we all know worry and anxiety, we all know they don't help, but sometimes we find ourselves in it. So if this person is panicking, seek out a little bit of guidance, talk to people, don't be afraid to do that. Understand him or herself in their feelings, because you want to keep your self-worth, you want to keep your ideals, you want to keep your passion alive. When we think about family and we think of that ideal of loving, nurturing families, what that comes down to is understanding individual differences, appreciating that we think and we feel differently, beginning to understand and tolerate mistakes, keeping the channels of communication open, and having flexibility in how we negotiate with ourselves and others. It's very, very important. Keep communication open, emotional support, and I think I've listed this in the slides, changing that term motivation, understanding your own boundaries. Boundaries about what I keep close to me, what I keep in, not what I keep out. So understand you've a head and a heart in all this. Your head will tell you lots of things. We know that, not always true. Your heart intuition is a guide to be used with your logic. Show up in your life, have faith in yourself, and have faith in whatever is important to you. I can do this one step at a time. Today is a good day. Maybe yesterday was a bad day. And it's acknowledging all that. That's key to the relationship with yourself, and it's key to the relationship with your adolescent in future-proofing them. Because what you're showing now is difficult things do happen. We can't, make everything okay for our adolescent. And this is reality. So yes, I do feel crap today because I'm worried. But you know what? I'm going to look at some options. And they're learning from you that, okay, we can get through a crisis here and we can show up. And I think the most important thing, and I suppose I'd like to end with that this evening, and I've put up a quote about it, we can't overdo kindness. It is the most important element in any relationship. And if any parent is going to leave anything for themselves, if they're going to offer anything to their adolescent, kindness is the most important in the relationship with yourself. How you do that, how you show up with it, is going to set the scene for a lot better coping skills now and in the next 6 months to try and get through all everybody has to get through.
Okay, thank you very much, Gina. A very thorough run through the questions and the feedback from last night's event. More on planetyouth.ie, where you can learn about upcoming events that Planet Youth are running, in particular in this current time, supporting parents and also engaging with teenagers and young people as well. So, Gina, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Liam.